Good evening, guys. How you doing? Sorry about that. So I'm a little bit late with almost perfect timing. My Mac crashed. So I just had to reboot it. But I'm here. How are you all doing, guys? Just while we wait for a couple of minutes, just for everybody to kind of come in, pop into the chat. How are you doing? Any wins? What are the wins that you've had? Where we are coming up for Wednesday, middle of March. Third month of the year. That went pretty fast.
It's a Zoom meeting, but you got
your wins, guys? You know, any lessons, anything you've learned, anything that you've applied? For those of you who've been following these webinar series, we're at week kind of 5 now, week kind of 13.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's good to see you. We got Bo, Marty, Julia, Christine, Himesh, John, David. Oh, someone's got their mic on. Okay, hang on a minute. I should be able to hear all of that. Let me mute everybody. There we go. If we mute you all, there we go. There'll be plenty of time for engagement and conversation. So tonight what we're going to cover off is a little bit of a cautionary tale. I'm a massive fan of niching, as you probably gathered. And I think the more we niche, the better our business and the better the outcomes. But it's also important that we remain consistent. So, as I said before, you know, if you want to jump in, any questions that you've got, pop them in the chat. This is 50% me, 50% you. Content, I'll go through, share some stories, share some insight, but really this is about you guys. This is about me showing you some of the things that we do at AE, some of the ways that I've helped clients, and then supporting you and helping you basically to be able to implement those in your own businesses. I always offer a strategy call for anybody who wants to jump on, and it's, you know, for me just to kind of see how I can help you, see what challenges you've got, and then to see essentially, you know, walk you through a few different things and then see how we can kind of help you achieve or solve those problems or achieve those particular goals. So we're a bit quiet tonight. We got hi, Christine. Hi, Himesh. Yep, I heard that. Someone's got their mic on. We cleared that one off. Julia, welcome. So yeah, talk on yourselves. Get engaged, get involved, and you'll get more from it. So let's get started. So some of you who followed my content and watched online, you might have seen that I did a post, a carousel post earlier this week, talking about, you know, the riches are in the niches, which is obviously, you know, the Americanized saying of it. It's, you know, riches in the niche does not have the same kind of ring to it. But I am going to talk about it and I'm going to call it niche because for me, well, that's the way I understand how to say it. Now, one of the challenges and the things I see really quite often when we're kind of approaching, you know, clients and the question that gets asked is, you know, my content's not resonating with people. I'm not getting new leads coming through. I'm not, you know, this isn't happening. That's not happening. So a lot of time on the strategy call, what I'll do is just have a look and say, okay, let's have a look at your content and, you know, jump onto Instagram, jump onto website, have a quick look. And one of the things that I see really quite clearly, quite often, is that there's no theme, there's very little consistency in the marketing. And that tells me immediately that either we don't fully understand who our ideal client is, or we do, and there's a little bit of panic going on. So it's kind of a shotgun approach. And I was, you know, when years and years ago, you know, I was you know, introduced to this kind of concept, which was, you know, if you try to be all things to all people, you will become nothing to no one. You will not resonate with a single person because your approach is far too broad. And, you know, there is only one being who is all things to all people. And that those are the gods, essentially. So we can't do that. So we have to niche down. We have to focus down. And Another thing we talk about AE is about, basically the way you build businesses, the way we build our own, lifestyle businesses, performance businesses, whatever, is through a pure focus, a ruthless focus on identifying your niche and your ideal tribe. You vibe with your tribe. Then consistency of approach. So we have to remain consistent in our marketing. We have to remain consistent in our storytelling. Stick to the plan, stay the course. It's very, very easy to get blown off course, to kind of, do different things. And become inconsistent in our marketing, becoming inconsistent in our stories. And we need to be disciplined. Now, discipline and motivation are different things. You're all here motivated because, you're here 7 o'clock on a, Wednesday night. That's motivation enough. Where it all comes a little bit unstuck is the discipline. The turn up every day with some valuable content for your clients. And that takes time. It takes effort. It's, sometimes it's unforgiving. So we have to remain focused, consistent, and disciplined for it all to work. And once you get this right, you only understand when you get the right people, you understand what the problem is, you create the right solution, your business starts to grow. It all starts to click over. Everyone agree? Sure you all agree with this, right? Now, let me tell you a little bit about where I went wrong. Now, this is last year. So I shall share you a little bit of it's a painful story as such, but I think it's absolutely valid for what we're talking about today. And those of you who've worked with me or dealt with me, I'm pretty open about my mistakes and challenges, because I think but the more open I am, the more people learn from it. I don't like being a cautionary tale, but sometimes you are what you are, right? So let me just drop this down a little bit. I think that's probably maybe a little bit too big, but no, you can see it okay. So basically the goal for AE in our kind of strategy on a page, and I think it's really important actually to get your strategic pillars into one place where you can see them, because it's easy for you to see, it's easy for you to kind of reflect back to. And AE, we have lofty goals, and we know that for us to achieve what we need to achieve, it's about our products, our partners, and generating profit. So our products is creating high-end business support. Partners, having A players who we work with in terms of building A players as clients, but also the organizations that we work with and we partner with. And profit, of course. For me, it's not just about generating a profit for AE, obviously that's important, but for me, one of the things I really want to do is to help and support the aesthetics market in charging fair market value. I think market's underpriced, and because when it's underpriced and people do offers, that just compounds the problem and makes it even worse. So products, partners, and profit, all the P's, nice and easy. And the way to do that is through community. So creating a vibrant and engaged community of people who are like-minded and happy to share and learn from each other and engaged. Our digital assets. So, Matrix platform that delivers all of our content and is kind of actually the sort of backbone of aesthetic entrepreneurs. Education programs. So, the programs that go on to Matrix, our in-person events, and our partnerships. So, and I worked really closely with my team, a lady called Heather Hancock, who some of you are coming to the campaign mastery meeting in next week. You'll meet Heather, but Heather worked with me to pull this strategy on a page together. This is what she does. She's a business strategist and she's world class. So we got this easy on one page. Nice to see. Now, we look at what we're achieving. Our partnerships. We've got really, really strong partnerships with great companies. Over the years, we've worked with the top businesses in the sector and pride ourselves on working with the really innovative guys, the guys who are driving the messaging forward, like Illumia, Cyton, Aconia, Everlist, creating new products, new services, to help you generate more revenue for your business, right? And how do you commercialize those? Well, that's what Aesthetic Entrepreneurs does. We sit in the middle of all these guys and help you guys commercialize the products that they produce, the services that you create, and help you make money out of all of that. We've got Matrix, so our digital platform. pretty sweet. You know, it's a really great platform. It helps me manage the business. It delivers great content we create. It's a bespoke to us, so we can change it, tweak it. It's got its own chat function. You know, it's a strong platform. It's a really strong platform. Box ticked. But what did I take my eye off? I took my eye off two things: community and events. So always stick to your strategy. Community is key part of Ascetic Entrepreneurs. And a couple of the metrics I track is our monthly revenue coming from subscriptions. And in the middle of last year, everything's fine. But I took a bit of a break and I stopped communicating as frequently as I used to. I stopped doing things like this. I stopped doing the physical events. And immediately what seems to happen is when you stop communicating, people stop listening. And when people stop listening, you stop being front of mind. And this is, you know, relevant for you as much as it is for me, because it's always great to get a bit of a reminder sometimes that, you know, you've got to stay focused, consistent, and disciplined. And I didn't last year. I'm first one to put my hands up and say I didn't do it. Delegated far too much to my team, wasn't front of house, wasn't walking the walk. And you can see immediately the impact that happened. And from June to last year, our monthly recurring revenue dropped. And it's just like, okay, fine. You learn your lesson, you get yourself back involved, and you pick it up again. And what I'm going to show you actually is these upticks are all planned, because it's just me knowing what levers to pull. When the things start to go down, I know what I need to do to bring them back up again. So it's almost like turning a tap on. And when you've kind of got that, you don't panic so much. You don't, oh my God, my business is going off a cliff. It's not. It's just what happens. Consistency gives you consistent curves. Inconsistency gives you peaks and troughs. So, you know, you have to maintain your focus, and it's hard, but if you don't do it, you know, these are the sort of things that happens. And the other metric I track quite aggressively is churn rate. So for a subscription business, churn rate is basically how quickly your clients are turning over. And you can see again, you know, if your revenue is dropping, then your churn rate will go up. And it mirrors it. It's almost a complete mirror. Exactly, right? So I stop turning up and my churn rate goes up. I start turning up and churn rate goes down. This isn't, you know, this is not a coincidence. This is just what happens. So if you think about from your own business's perspective, you know, AE is just it's another business. It's just another metric, another organization that follows exactly the same curve as you guys. And what I wanted to show you today is literally real world example of what happens when you don't turn up. And the more you show up for your guys, the more content you create, the more engaged you are, the more consistent things will be, more consistently things will grow. So, like I said, you know, I'm quite open about what happens behind the scenes here, because, you know, the lessons that I learn are the ones I just pass straight on to you guys. So, you know, I forgot about community. I forgot about my niche. I forgot about what I did, you know, who I added value for, all these different bits and pieces. And how do you turn, you know, the question would be is, okay, Rich, well, how do you turn the tap back on? Well, the simple thing is you find your sweet spot. And when I come to the end of this little bit of talk, it'd be great to kind of hear from you a little bit about, you know, what your sweet spot is. I'll describe what mine is. So how do you find it? Well, and this is essentially exactly the same process that I go through every single time, and you can copy it and you can mimic this yourselves. Is your sweet spot is right in the middle of three places. It's people, problem, and solution. And obviously you want to be looking for a couple of things. Is one, it's people who will pay, you know, have the capability and will understand the value of the solution that you're providing. Those people have a problem, and the key part of this for me is it's a problem that you actually care about solving. It's not about the problem that will generate the most revenue. It's the problem that you care about solving the most. And then the solution that you create to solve that problem. And at the intersection of those is your sweet spot. Your intersection of those is your growth spot. So what I did is, as I always go back to basics and look at this Venn diagram and go, right, things are dropping off. let's get back into it. So problem number one, why had I stopped? What stopped communicating? I got tired. That's essentially it. I was running close to burnout. So I needed to care about solving the problem, but maybe I needed to change the solution that I was providing. Were the people the same? So probably think I just gave away the game. But if you were looking at this and thinking, right, for the first thing what would you look at first? So in the chat, if you think the first thing that you look at are people, or you think the first thing I looked at was people, number one. If you think it's problem, type 2, and if you think it's solution, type 3. So do you think people 1, problem 2, or solution 3? What do you think? Which would you start at first? And if you all come up with the same answers, because I know I've just told you. I've told, or maybe it was too obvious, but I give the game away. 2, yeah, it's about the problem. And I think this is where, again, a lot of things I see go a little bit awry is when either you go for the money or you try and create a solution. Creating, and some things I have done in the past is I've created beautiful solutions for problems that don't exist. I think we all have a habit of doing that sometimes, is getting really excited about creating solutions for problems that don't exist. First thing we need to look at is the problem. And it's how much do you care about solving that problem? So, you could target a massive issue, but if you don't really care about it, you're not going to be very good at it. So that's number one, is thinking about how, what is there that your clients need? What is the problem? And one thing that you're passionate about. So I mentioned earlier when we looked at the strategy sessions, one of the things I'm passionate about is supporting you guys to charge fair market value. I'm passionate about that. I think the market is really undervalued, and that has a knock-on effect all the way through to, conversations around suppliers, conversations around, even with me, for an example, conversations that you have with using, who do you use for your design? If you're not charging the right amount of money, then the solutions that you create aren't going to be good enough. So we have to start looking up, moving our pricing mindset up a little bit. And pricing is just a combination of preparation, commercial strategy, and mindset, and moving that up. So I care about that. So generally, most things come back to, for me, are around that aspect of it. So think about one. So just take a note down, right? So 1, what is a problem that you really care about solving? Pop it in the chat. It'd be good to hear from you, looking at your clients, what's one problem that you really, really care about solving for them? How do you make them feel? Don't say I like solving X. It's generally an emotional state. I like help dealing with overwhelm. I like helping people feel more empowered. I help people, support them to create live content, because when they create live content, comes out the other side is that feeling of confidence, and we beat the imposter syndrome. There we go. Brilliant. Restoring their confidence is a problem that you care about solving. So if you care about it, you're going to become really good at it. Confidence, again, fantastic. Yeah, perfect. So we understand the problem we want to solve. Now, one of the things that I look to solving, I think coming back to the situation from last year, is there's always this balance between the resources that we have. And it's this constant battle between time, energy, and money. Let's move that down a little bit. There we go. So you can see that a bit better now. So it's constant battle is probably the right word, between time, energy, and money. If you've got lots of money, then you can outsource and delegate to create time and energy. If you don't have a lot of money, then you're going to have to burn your time and energy in order to create the assets. So it's this cycle that goes round and round, and sometimes we're flush with cash and sometimes we're not. So you're always going to have to find this balance. And again, one of the things I'm passionate about is how do I help people manage this? So I understood. So right, okay, this is what we need to go back to. So always just take that step back into your client's shoes and understand, what are the big problems they have. What the problem is. But as I said, make sure that you care about solving it. And then it's looking for people who will pay. There's, the second part of the triangle, if you like, is, well, it's great creating a solution, but are people motivated to actually solve the problem? Are they motivated to invest in the solution? So quick question to you guys there, how would you test to see whether people will actually pay for the solution? How would you test to see whether or not they're actually would pay for anything? How would you make those sort of assessments? The way and how I would do it is digging into avatar. Now, for those of you, again, who've worked with me before, seen anything I do, we always go back to client goals, back to the avatar, always back to the avatar. Because the way that you would test that is you'd ask them, it's just simply just speak to your clients and ask them, what is it going on? How are they? Back to their goals, because it's all about them at the end of the day. Remember, the problem that we create, a problem, people, solution, we've got to understand about them. So what is it they want to achieve for their business, for themselves, for their family? What's stopping them? What's keeping them awake at night? Start to understand, why can't they solve these challenges? And then just dropping down, right? Okay, writing 10 ways I can solve those particular problems. Because if I understand that with my clients, that they are really motivated to solve that issue, then creating the solution is the next logical step. And it's as simple as that. And then you just write literally 10 ways that I can help them solve that problem. Look at the language that they're using. What kind of messages are they giving? What words do they use when you ask them about the problem? So, for example, if you're restoring their confidence, one of the questions you can ask them is, what is it that you think it doesn't give you? Why is it that you don't have confidence right now? Because you can't really give people confidence or restore confidence. What you can do is just basically empower them to make themselves feel better, so they create the confidence themselves, in my view. So what is it that's stopping them? Is it, and then you're getting into actually understanding the solution that you need to create. But one of the challenges and things I see is people don't actually use the words and the language that their clients use. And it's really important to do that. I absolutely minimize the amount of marketing spiel and buzzwords that I use, because it turns people off. People don't really resonate with it. I could talk about congruent branding, and you would go, what are you talking about? And it's like, okay, does your branding make sense? That's a much easier way of putting it. But there is an entire book written on congruent branding, right? It's not very interesting. I wouldn't worry about reading it. But you get the point. So if your marketing, your messages are very heavy in industry speak, in our speak, have a listen to what your clients are saying and connect with them again. Because when I got into, obviously, what I was talking about and what I was missing is, people were missing community. We hadn't done an event for a while. So, by not showing up, I understood what I needed to do. Now, how do you test it? So for those of you who've got the book, you'll be familiar with this process. But how I test to make sure that what I'm doing is not going down a complete rabbit hole is I put it through a little 5-step checklist called Orbit. I invented this myself to stop me from making really, really stupid decisions, of which I made many. But first thing is go back to objective. So we've gone through a little Venn diagram. We've got people, we've got problem, we've got solution. So I'm going to go through it again. So what's the objective? What is it that I want to achieve? What is my goal? My goal was, obviously to re-energize the Ascetic Entrepreneurs community, to get the events back going, put some life back into the business, because obviously, that's what was missing. Your objective will be slightly different. It would be, I need to find X number of people, or I need to start communicating about how I can help restore people's confidence, how I can help people feel good on the inside as well on the outside. Love that. Second step. So once we're clear on our objectives, the next step is around resources. What do I currently have to enable me to achieve that goal? For me, really simple. I still had all the assets were there, matrix, everything was there, partnerships were there, it was great, everything was there. For you, what do you have to enable them to achieve that goal? Think about your marketing assets, your channels to market, your Instagram, Facebook, your, LinkedIn, your website, your Google, you've got all those things. Brilliant. Is there any tech, do you need to go on a course or anything like that? Do you need to upskill to being able to deliver the solution? Do you need to invest in any equipment or anything like that? Just as a caveat on that, I wouldn't recommend doing that initially. I'd try and find something that you've got in-house in the first instance, just because otherwise, investing large amounts of money in capital equipment or anything like that at early stages, it's not the right thing to do. But we know what our objective is. We know what resources we have or don't have available to us. Buy-in, bounce it off a few people. Who can you talk to get an objective opinion on your plan? I do that for my clients. Another great people to do it, and this is exactly what I did last year, was I asked my clients, buy-in. I thought, right, is this what you guys want? Am I on the right track? Yes, because I've got a really great relationship with them that's quite open. So everyone's got their favorite client. Ask them. Don't be afraid of just digging. Hey, I've got this great idea. This is what I was thinking about doing. How would you feel about that? Would that be something you're interested in? Get some buy-in. Then even accountant, if there's a financial investment in it, get your accountant on board. Really dig into it and make sure that it makes sense to do it. Implementation. How are you going to roll this out? How are you going to do the do? Often this is where a lot of our amazing ideas drop off. We've got I really want to do it. Objective is great. Resources there, get buy-in. Implementation. The how to do it, you'll either start to lose interest and then go back to problem that I care about solving. Because if you're losing interest, it's because you don't care enough about the problem you're solving. Or it's just really hard to implement. And if that's the case, then maybe is there a quicker, easier, soft, less intensive way of achieving the goal? But it gives you a checkpoint. And then the final thing is test. How do I know when it's worked? So for me, it's easy. It's, leads come up, engagement increases, you've got an event, community starts to generate all these different touch points and data points that we've got throughout the business. Number of leads you're getting, appointments, procedures, sales, the laps, as I call it. Those are all data points that can tell you how well your plan is going and how well it's being implemented. So again, it's in detail, is in my book. And if you want to book a call with me just to be able to go through this with you, if you've got something that you want to talk about, bounce it through, I'll sit and I'll go through this with you. And by the time we get to test, you'll know whether or not, one, will it work? Second thing is, do you actually want to do it? So I'm just going to pop a link in the chat for a strategy call. If anybody, there we go. If you want to jump on, book in, please do so. Right. So, and then the final part, which if you've done the previous two bits, then actually the solution should really fall out quite neatly. And then it's about communicating it. So when I talk about campaigns a lot, because I think approaching with a campaign methodology and communicating your solution is key. So the big message, what's the big thing that you're going to take to the world? Restoring their confidence, helping people feel good on the outside as well as the inside, what your campaign goal is, and then 4 campaigns based over a year. Doesn't have to be the same one, because when I sort of talking about niching, is you can campaign for particular niches. So if you think, right, in campaign number 1, I'm going to target one group. Often you can use quintile analysis to break this down. So you can look at your client database and then have a campaign running for each individual client group. And that's not including your baseline content. So for me, my baseline content is just the day-to-day stuff that we do. You know, we've adjusted the strategy actually, so focusing much more on Instagram, and it seems working quite well. So there's a lot of baseline stuff that we put on Instagram, and then we have our campaign. Now, you are actually in the middle of one of my campaigns, the weekly workshops. It's a campaign. So if I looked at this and based it, is like you got 1 quarter, and in there you've got 4 months. So Q1, a bit of Q1 and a bit of Q2. I use the first part of Q1 to plan and assess and understand it, make sure that I had everything in place, do my orbit analysis, and then execute a plan, 13-week weekly workshops designed to drive my big message, which is help to increase your business, help you to grow, join the campaign, join the community, come to our events, all of those different aspects of it to drive people back into AE. And I'll get to the end of this campaign and we'll assess, and I may run it again. I may run exactly the same campaign again. Nothing wrong with doing that. And after you've done this for a while, period of time, what you'll find is if you do it consistently for a year, focus, consistency, discipline, you will absolutely nail your growth because there's structure to it. So you've got your baseline content, you've gone through all of those different processes to understand what your clients want, what their messages are, what the problem it is, what the solution is, whether they'll pay, and then you target them specifically every quarter. And every quarter has 4 months in it. Every month has about 4 weeks in it. So you can break that down into days. So you know exactly what you're doing every single day. And it's all targeted towards one campaign. And if, as I said, this is the discipline, the consistency and discipline aspect of it. And I've just shown you what happens when you don't do this. And I've done this every year for 4 years. Last year, back end of last year, I didn't do it. And you can immediately see what happens. So lesson there, slap to me, dude, practice what you preach, stay focused, stay consistent. So that's essentially how you do it. So just to kind of, to recap, and I know I sort of span through that quite quickly, is key areas to sort of look into is when to drive the growth, look at your sweet spot. What is it that's here in that intersection between those who will pay you money, those who've got a problem that you care about solving, a solution that you're interested in creating? Focus on the problem first, then look at who's going to pay you, and then look at the solution as the last aspect of it all. Get some real insight from your clients. Push it all through some sort of filter. And even if you don't use this, but use this one, use something. And even if you just use one step off of this, it's just buy in. Get someone else to talk through someone else about what it is you're planning to do. I can't emphasize that enough. It's a really important step. And then map out your campaign. So what is your big message? What's the change that you want to see in the world? What is it you're taking? What's your purpose from your campaign? What are the goals of your campaign? And again, you could have you could break this down into 4 different campaigns. It doesn't have to be one big one. And remember that it sits on top of your baseline content. It's not something that replaces your general marketing activity. It's something that drives you as a focus point towards it all. There we go. So that's it from the content side of things. So what I'd love to hear from you guys, right, is what your own little story, your own stories. I mean, again, this is where everyone goes, oh my God, oh, is that the time? I've got to go. But yeah, it's where do you feel, I'll ask you a question. That's probably an easy way of doing it and get a discussion going. Is focus, consistency, and discipline. There's the first question. Which one of them do you find the most challenging? And if you don't want to come off mute and talk to me, that's absolutely fine. Pop it in the chat and I'll just, help you to kind of give you some tips perhaps on how you can kind of deal with all of that. So right, brilliant. Okay, so consistency. So that's one challenge. What else do we got? What other areas of that do we feel that we find challenging? Is it consistency? Okay, consistency seems to be the general theme. All right, so I'm discipline. Okay, cool. These are, yeah, they're the hardest parts of it. I mean, once we have the focus is generally the easy bit, because that's all the excitement is all there. How to maintain consistency? It is difficult, and I think the way I look at it is eyes on the prize, right? Always have a goal. And I think what happened with me last year is towards the end, I didn't have a goal. I didn't really have anything to really focus on. The goal of becoming the best, global leading marketing consultancy company, it's really vague. It is really vague. It's too big. Having a quarterly goal gives you focus, but it enables you to be consistent over a short period of time. And you literally just roll from one to the other. And that's how I've done it in the past, and that's maintained the structure, which is why it's quite surprising. We're all human beings at the end of the day. So why I was surprised that I kind of didn't do that. But if you think about it, it's 1 quarter is only 3 months. It's 12 weeks. That's it. It's a 12-week plan. You can remain consistent for 12 weeks. It's not easy, hence where the discipline comes in. But what I would suggest is even you need to break it down even more. Be consistent for 4 weeks. Then be consistent for another 4 weeks and do it 4 times. If you listen to Stevie Potter, who's the performance coach, GB triathlete, dentist, generally quite hardcore. But for it to be an athlete, being an athlete is all about consistency and discipline. It's training when you don't want to train. It's going for a run when it's -2 and peeing in amber rain. But what drives the consistency and the discipline is the prize, is the goal, and being focused on the goal. And what she does is she breaks it down into kind of motivation steps. So reward yourself. You can consistent for 4 weeks. What's the prize? You're consistent for 12 weeks. What's the prize? Because it will take 12 weeks to see an uptick. That's just the way the world works. I think that's why the business world works in quarters, is because it takes you about 12 weeks from the start of a process to see it start to implement. You can shortcut that if you've got a warm client, if you've got a warm base. So again, I'm fortunate I had that. You've got contacts, you've got a warm client base. So when you start putting your messages out there, it's already received well. If you've got a cold base, i.e., they're strangers, they don't really know who you are, it's going to take longer. So that's what I said, to help you maintain consistency. And again, also accountability. If you need to remain accountable to someone. And that's what having a community helps you with, is maintain that accountability. If you lean into it, okay, this stuff only ever works if you do the do. And the discipline, that's self-discipline. You need to find the answers in what you're doing. And for me, it's connecting yourself back with your goal. So for those of you who wrote discipline, what's your goal? What is it you want to achieve? Really pin that down and make that quite emotive, and you'll remain disciplined and remain consistent. Has that helped? Go, I've got a thumbs up. Everyone else is all really quiet and hidden. It's like no one puts their cameras on anymore. It's really so disappointing. So action points then, things that you can work on between now and the next one is, as always, you can watch this back on replay, and you also get access to the slide deck as well. I put the links in the follow-up emails. You've got all of that there for you. But what I would say to do is to start thinking more. I want to start thinking more in a campaign mentality. We've got an event next week, end of next week, 24th, where we're starting off, and I'm taking a group of our AE community through a journey with Heather, who is going to be drilling into the strategic planning aspect of it, helping you to find your purpose and your North Star. I'm going to be taking you through the anatomy of a campaign, so digging a little bit deeper than some of the stuff I've talked about today. And then we've got Stevie, who's basically going to be talking about performance mindset and how to overcome those challenges around consistency and discipline. Because I understand, we're all human beings, and this is why I don't shy away from being honest about when I've got it right, because also I'm honest when I get it wrong. So people believe me when I've screwed it up. They'll believe me when we're flying. And don't get me wrong, the strategic partnerships that Essential Entrepreneurs has is fantastic. But at the core of what we do, it's always about community. And I forgot that. And that was a very, very valuable lesson for me to remember. So, at the end of the day, it's it is what you are. So if you are interested in joining us next week on the 24th, there are I've got a couple of spots left. It's a small, it's not a massive group. It's not designed to be, massive numbers. But we do have a couple of spots left. So I'll put the link into the chat. And if you want to come along, you feel more than welcome to join us. It is going to be a great day. I love doing these sorts of workshops because you'll walk away with a lot from it. Probably mind blown a little bit and sitting there thinking, how the hell am I going to do all of this? But then that's what, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? These things are activators. They're not going to give you all the answers in one day. What they are going to do is give you some very unique ways of looking at it, and some incredible professionals as well talking to you. And we've got a really good group of people in the room already. There's lots and lots of talent in the room. So I'm properly stoked for this one. So yeah, good. Cool. All right. We've still got a little bit of time left. Is anybody got anything they want to ask me? Anybody got anything they want to share? Any questions? Always love a question. Someone asked me a question. Fine. Okay. I'll take that as a no then. Cool. All right, guys. Well, listen, I'll let you crack on. Anything you need, reach out. We'll be back next week. I'll let you know ahead of time what the subject of this will be. Thank you very much. I hope that was useful, and I'll catch up with you all soon. All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.